Detours, brought to you by Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. Without a doubt, Marcel Hug has been one of the most dominant racers for the past decade, winning just about everything on both the track and the road. At this year's Boston, he rolled a simply unbelievable 1 hour, 15 minutes, 35 seconds. Welcome, Marcel. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hey, Marcel, it's been a steady grind. I mean, the past few years, you've just been going between the Abbott Cup Series, New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon. You're all over the place. I mean, how the heck are you doing this, and how's your body holding up heading into Paris?
Oh yeah, it was the last 3 years was really crazy. It was very good, very successful. So I'm very happy, very satisfied, and very grateful for the success, and grateful that my body makes goes with this all this, and helps me to perform like this, and it goes very well. I'm still very motivated in my daily training to compete very high level, train very hard. So, yeah.
Really quick, let me jump in with, I notice it's not like you're an old guy, but you're 38 years old. So you're probably touching on that era where you're starting to think about injuries. Is anything in particular happening to your body that's becoming more of a challenge now?
Yeah, of course, I feel my age a little bit. Sometimes I need a little bit more of recovery. But yeah, luckily I had no major injury. In the past, only the crash in the Boston Marathon, which I hit my shoulder and the ribs. But beside of this, I had no major injury, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about that. The last time you and I connected up, you were on the Boston Marathon course. You got taken off course. You missed the course record. Now here we are talking this year. You go around the fire station curve, heading up Heartbreak Hill, and you plow into a big snow fence. That had to hurt.
Yeah, it was a crazy moment, a little shock. But I was just totally in my focus, and then I just went up again because I knew I'm under the course record, so I had no time to think about what happened. I just was lucky that the race chair was still okay. And then at the finish, of course, I felt the pain in the shoulder and the ribs. But I think when I look back and see the video from the crash, I'm very happy that nothing worse happened.
Yeah, it's very strange when you're out there on the course and you get focused. Sometimes you just lose. People go, how the heck did he lose attention? Well, sometimes that just happens, but it looked like he came into the corner a little bit hot. But anyway, I found this pretty interesting quote that you gave. It said, we're talking about Boston once again, which is, as we all know, is one of those premier races to win. You said, I have to learn to have more courage for the downhills because the speeds are sometimes scary. Well, they are. You go right out of the gates, bang, gun goes off. You're instantaneously going fast for quite a long time. What kind of speeds do you hit on Boston?
Actually, this year I had a new personal speed record with 78 kilometers per hour. I don't know in miles, but
I did a little bit of a conversion, and I'm coming up with about 46 miles an hour, which is pretty darn fast.
It is, yeah.
Is it thrilling to go that fast, or is it nerve-wracking? Do you get concerned?
Not anymore, because now I have some experience with this downhill, and it's a straight downhill. So, but you have to be very focused. Know what you do, steer properly, and you should try not to hit any holes, and yeah.
Yeah, I know the roads can be unpredictable. Before we leave Boston, I just want to mention that this year in 2024 was your 7th win on the Boston course, and 4 of those times were course records. When you reflect back on the 7 races that you did at Boston that you won, Is there one that you reflect on and think a little bit more fondly of? Some particular thing that happened? Is it the records? Is it the speed? Is it the crowds? Which one of those stands out and why?
Difficult to say. I think definitely the ones with the course record were always special. I think also the moment when I missed the turn and then yeah, unfortunately missed the course record also. One marathon which I won, the Boston Marathon I won a few years ago, was also very special when the weather condition was really tough. It was very cold and a little bit rainy. So that one was maybe the toughest marathon I ever did.
Oh, I know the cold and the rain can be really brutal. Marcella, your countrymen have had an enormous amount of success at the Boston Marathon. Looking back, I could see, there's a couple of Swiss legacy champions. Heinz Frey, 2 times Boston, 15-time Paralympic gold medalist. Franz Nietlischbach, 5 Boston Marathons, 14 gold medals at the Paralympics. As a kid, I remember you out there with your little silver skateboard helmet and, nobody knew who the heck you were, but, here you are. You're basically the king of the sport now. So which one of these guys or which one of the people in from your country of Switzerland, which one of them was influential to you? Why and how?
Oh, there were really, as you said, there were many great athletes in Switzerland, and I always looked up to them. I never had an athlete like an idol or something like this, but I looked up to them and watched them. And when I started as a junior, as a small kid, we had not so many junior races. So I had to start to compete against the elite athletes like Franz or Heinz and some else. So yeah, so they were a great inspiration, and I tried to catch up with them and come as close as possible. And then one day I overtook them, and yeah.
Well, you were certainly chasing the best. I mean, those guys were just two of the best, and wow, I mean, you guys have really produced an enormous amount of talent out of your country. I think people would be really interested in knowing what exactly does a training day. I mean, it's not even a training day for you. It's got to be so specific. You taper, you get ready for races in different ways. You get to a point where you're focusing on speed. But what does a typical day look like for you with training? Is it 2 times a day? Does it include weights? What kind of mileage are you doing per week?
Yes, I train 6 days a week, so one day off, usually Sunday when it's not a competition. And then, yeah, I train usually 2 times a day. Sometimes I have 3 sessions. Saturday, maybe I only have 1 session, but usually I have 2 sessions, and mostly in the racing chair, on the track, sometimes on the road, but more on the track. And yeah, a lot of gym also 3 times a week. Sometimes I do also different kind of sport just to do something different, like swimming, or in winter I do Nordic skiing. Um, and the training session lasts around 90 minutes, and I do from the kilometers in a training. It's very different. It depends on what's the goals, what's the training, but it can be up to 300, 350 kilometers a week. So yeah, it's different.
We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Sports and Spokes Magazine. For nearly 50 years, they've produced stories on iconic athletes performing at the top of their game, given generational coverage of sports dating back to the 1970s, and they've shown the way with exciting and timeless magazine cover shots. To stay on top of all the latest news from the world of high performance adaptive sports, go to sportsandspokes.com. Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. Marcel, speaking of all that training, 6 days a week, working so hard in and out of the gym, You got to do something for fun. Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you like to cook? What does Marcel Hug do for fun?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have a hobby, and I also don't have a pet or something. And, but what I like is the being in the nature. As you know, I grew up on a farm, so I very like to be in the nature on the lake. We have here in Notville, we have the lake, we have the mountains close, so that's very nice. And I really like to do camping. So I have a camper. So sometimes the weekend or in holiday I go for camping. Yeah.
Nice. It seems to me, as I've looked at what's gone on within the sporting world of chair racing, it feels to me, and it's no knock on any of the other racers, but it seems to me you're chasing the clock at this point. Like there's really, I'm not saying that nobody can keep up with you, but nobody's keeping up with you and you're winning. So are you chasing the clock at this point, or are there people, other racers that you've grown more concerned with?
Yeah, I think it's both. Of course, sometimes I go against the clock if I see there is a possibility to break a course record or something like this, and the weather condition is good and I feel good. So of course I go for the course record. But of course there are some other great athletes who are able to beat me, um, especially on the track, I think, but also in the marathon. So Daniel Romanchuk, for example, he's a very strong athlete, and I think he one day he will beat me again for sure. But I hope it's not today or tomorrow. Hopefully not at Paralympics, but
Hopefully not in Paris.
it will be one day for sure. And there are some other great athletes also. They were also working hard, and they're working on their materials and their racing chair to improve, to be faster. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah,
both.
so let's go ahead and address Daniel. Daniel Romanchuk, not too long ago, at the Desert Classic, he ran and I'm using 800 meters as sort of an example, but he ran a 128, and to the best of my knowledge, from everything I've looked at, it seems like you've run a 127 in the 800 meters. Is that correct for starters?
Yes, my best
Okay,
world record is
so
127. Right?
so 127, 128. If that's so, I look at the 800 meters as being the place where you guys are starting to get to where you're meeting up. There's not that much distance between you. Is that still, I mean, that's the shortest race you do. Is that a concern to you that people are starting to get that close?
Yeah, I think, as I said, the 800 meter is my shortest distance on international level. Um, and it's my weakest distance, I would say, because my start it's not bad, but it's not the best in the field. So, for example, Daniel has a better start, and the start is very important to have a good position after the first 100 meter. So yeah, I think the 800 meter is really open for many athletes to win a medal, and yeah.
I was just looking at a couple of your other records. So 1500, I have 254, 5,000, 922, and the marathon we already mentioned, 1 hour, 15 minutes. Which one of those events do you look at and say, this is the most beatable time, and this is the one I would like to shatter a record on?
Well, I would say the marathon is possible to go faster, and also the 5,000 meter. I think, of course, also 800 and 1500, but I think these two distance, the 5,000 and marathon, is maybe the most possible distance.
I think it would be interesting for people to get an idea of when you're going that fast, and I'm going to talk miles per hour just because I can't do a conversion really quick. You're probably going into the corners and say an 800 or a 15 or a 5,000. You're going in at probably 21, 22 miles an hour. What does it feel like with that push out as you're going around the turn? Is it difficult? Is there a lot that goes into that kind of navigation?
I mean, it feels amazing to go with high speed on the corner, but of course there is usually there is some drifting. I don't know how to say in English, but so you have to adjust the steering a little bit sharper inside. But it also changed a little bit from the improvement of the chairs. So the chairs now are stiffer. They are fully carbon made, and so there's not much drifting anymore. Yeah, but the bends, the curves, they are very important.
Very challenging, especially when you're doing pack racing as well. Marcel, how much of success as a racer is physical versus mental, and how do the two work together?
It's difficult to say in percentage, which is how many, but both, of course, are very important. Especially, I think, on a very high level, as we have in a Paralympic final. The athletes, they are all physically very strong, and then in the end, I think the mental power can make the difference in the end. And of course, also during the whole year, during the training, I think the athlete who can keep up the motivation and keep up the hard work, and yeah, that athlete can be successful, or the most successful athlete, and that needs mental strength.
Expectations going into Paris.
Expectations. Firstly, I expect to have some great Paralympic Games, a great atmosphere. Hopefully, some many spectators. Would be nice if the stadium would be full. And yeah, for me, I hope it will be a great experience. Really good organization. So for me, it's very special because Paris is quite near from Switzerland. So now time changes or climate changes. So yeah, it will be, I think, a good Paralympics.
Great. Hey, Marcel, I want to thank you very much and wish you the best of luck moving forward with the games. I'll certainly be watching, and I know the rest of the world will too. So go ahead and have a great time and tear it up.
Thank you very much.